Alright, so our weave is progressing very well now. We're nearing the end. And now we've gotten to a point where typically we'd be down here for a rear tie right, but we're all out of space. This guy I just want to move over. So our rear ties are all full. At this point we're going to simplify the weave. So instead of the 8 steps, it's going down to 6. The front tie block stays the same. It's still going to be front tie, or in this case front wrap on the right, lark's head, and then back up for a front tie left. The rear block is going down to just 2 steps, and they're both just lark's heads. The only difference now is these lark's heads are going to start at the rear of the frame, and they'll make their way forward. Whereas previously our lark's heads had always gone towards the front of the frame, and they've been working their way back. Now they'll also be starting at the back and working their way forward until eventually they'll meet in the middle. In this case, that's a bit hard to see because we're only going to have this round once, and then we'll be done our pattern. Depending on the size and shape of your shoe and the tightness of your weave, you may have quite a few more lark's heads to go. You might have a lot of space here, which would actually make this a little bit more clear to see. So let's make our way down there. Again, we're going across the center, so that's a delayed weave. I'll go over 1, 2 horizontals, and then under and upright, over horizontal, under and upright, and so on. So you can see I only had at the start here, I only had 2 horizontals to go over before I had to start center weaving, so there wasn't much of a delay left. Once there's no delay at all possible, that's when you know you're done your weave. So you'll get to a point where it's time to do a delayed weave, but in fact you just need to start weaving immediately. So I finish by going under 2 uprights. That brings me down here to the rear of the frame, and we are going to do a lark's head at rear right. Another way to think of it is it's almost like these rear ties have just started working their way up the side of the frame as well. So I'll be right back here, do my lark's head. Put this right at my primary tick at the rear. So this was a lark's head at rear, so I haven't tucked it up close to this one. I've actually left space there for one more lark's head. I can see that there's going to be one more line is going to come down and go in between these two. So in our simplified weave, between steps 5 and 6, it looks like a big cross across the center, which has been a delayed weave, but it's actually going across the bottom, not the center, and this is an immediate weave. So you should be immediately going over an upright and then under and up left, and work your way all the way across, weaving the entire time. Over and upright, under and up left, over and upright, under and up left. You'll need to pull tight as you go here because there's so many strands. If you wait until the very end, there might be too much friction to really get things nice and tight. Get here to the left side of the frame for our step 6, lark's head at rear left. So again, this will be right at the rear of the frame, and we'll leave space for one more lark's head that's going to sneak in between there later. Do my lark's head at rear left. So after step 6 of our simplified weave, then we're back to step 1. We're starting a new round. So that's going to be front tie or front wrap on the right. This is going across the center of the frame, so it's going to be a delayed weave. Very easy now to jump lanes and end up here on the left side, but we want to be tight to the right here. So we're going to go over 1, 2 diagonals, and then start weaving under the horizontal, over the diagonal, under the horizontal, over the diagonal. Just keep going, pull it through a few times as you go. So this is a front wrap right. I go over the main line, just back up to the left. That's step 1. Step 2, lark's head right. And this is down in the corner, so it's an immediate weave. Over the horizontal, under the diagonal, over the horizontal, under the diagonal. Over the horizontal, under the diagonal, over the horizontal, under the diagonal. Tie our lark's head. Again, this lark's head actually falls between these two here because this one is a lark's head at rear. It was the rearmost of the whole shoe. Okay, now we're coming across to step 3. This one would typically be a delayed weave, and this is what I was talking about. There's actually no delay possible. So we're going to go over and up right, and then immediately we'll encounter an up left. They're different, so we'll have to treat them differently. So it's over and under immediately. And that's telling us that that's the very last pass coming across this section of the shoe. We'll never come back here with this shoe. So we'll go over the upright, under the up left, over the upright, under the up left. Keep going until we hit the left side of the frame. Pull her nice and snug. Tie our final lark's head of the shoe. Clamp. Now we'll head up for a front tie left, and we'll be weaving the entire way and finishing up here on the main line. So we go over a diagonal, under a horizontal, over a diagonal, under a horizontal, over a diagonal, under a horizontal. finish up by going over this last diagonal, and then of course we always go over the main line. And then we're going to tie off with that triple half hitch, the same one we used way back here at the very start. So I've gone over the main line, I've come back up to the left, and then I will just tuck my end of line into that little gap I've made between the two strands. That's my first half hitch. Pull that nice and tight, and then I'll go around the line again, just around this strand that you were weaving, not around the main line again. So just around that same strand, and pull that tight. And that's a double half hitch. And I had mentioned we were going to do a triple, but actually I misspoke. I like to just do a double here, otherwise this knot gets a little bit bulky underfoot. And this line I'll just tuck in under these other front wraps. And it's going to get wrapped up as we wrap this toe hole later. So it'll be really secure, so I don't need to do that triple half hitch. So I can just snip that off at the edge of the toe hole. I have seen someone snip their main line at that point while trying to trim this excess, which would be heartbreaking, so just be careful. So that's it. That's our main body weave done. You can move on to your other shoe. Repeat this exact same process. It's good to do the body weave while it's still somewhat fresh in your mind. And then we can move on to toes and heels. And then we'll finish up by wrapping up our toe hole. Good work.